You think it means you love her. You think it means she was the one. But what it actually means, and nobody is going to say this to your face, is that you have completely abandoned yourself. Let that land for a second, because here is what is happening right now. She has not texted you. She has not called. She has not shown up. The silence from her side is loud and clear. And yet somehow, despite all of that quiet, she is screaming inside your head. Every morning you wake up and she is the first thought. Every time you see something, a song, a street corner, the specific shade of a color, your brain drags her in like it cannot help itself. You are going about your life on the surface, but underneath you are still living inside a story about her. A story she is not even participating in anymore. And you have convinced yourself that this means something profound about the connection, that this kind of mental occupation proves the depth of what you shared, that the fact you cannot stop thinking about her is evidence she was irreplaceable. I am here to tell you that is not love, that is a wound wearing love's clothing. Before we go any further, if this channel has ever said something that cut through the noise and made you think clearer about who you are and where you are going, subscribe right now. Not for my sake, for yours, because the kind of clarity we talk about here is not a one-time thing. You are going to need reminders. You are going to need to hear these truths on the days when your mind goes back to her at 2 in the morning and you almost reach for your phone. Tap that button and stay in the room. Now, let's get into this. Here is what it really means when she never leaves your mind despite having no contact. It means that somewhere along the way, you made her your primary source of validation, of meaning, of identity, of emotional regulation. You outsource the most important job in your life, the job of grounding yourself, to another person. And when that person left or pulled back or stopped showing up, you did not just lose a relationship, you lost the infrastructure of your inner life. You lost the mechanism you had built to feel okay, and now your brain, desperately trying to get that system back online, keeps returning to the source. Not because she is the one, because she became the only one. That is called emotional dependency. And it is not romantic. It is not deep. It is a survival pattern that is quietly destroying you. Let me walk you through exactly how this happens, why it costs you more than you realize, and what the man on the other side of this looks like. Because I want you to see yourself in that picture before this video ends. Start with the misconception. The story most men are carrying right now sounds like this. She stays on my mind because our connection was rare, because what we had was real, because part of me knows it is not finished. That is the story. And it feels true. It feels deeply, inarguably true. The problem is that feeling true and being true are two entirely different things. Your brain does not flag things as memorable because they were good for you. Your brain flags things as memorable because they were intense, because they created a neurological imprint through cycles of highs and lows, through moments of deep connection followed by withdrawal, through hope followed by uncertainty, followed by hope again. That pattern, connection, withdrawal, hope, uncertainty, is the same pattern that makes gambling addictive. It is not proof of love. It is proof of a cycle. She stays on your mind because the cycle never got a clean resolution, not because the love was exceptional, because the wound never closed. Now here is the hard truth. The hard truth is that the amount of mental space you are giving her is directly inversely proportional to the amount of mental space you are giving yourself. Read that again. Every hour your mind spends replaying conversations, imagining reconciliation, wondering what she is doing, asking why she has gone quiet, that is an hour your mind is not spending on you, on your vision, on your goals, on the person you are supposed to be becoming. You are literally funding her rent-free residence in your mind with the currency of your own potential. You are paying for her presence in your head with your future. That is the transaction you have agreed to, and you agreed to it without reading the contract. Here is why it happens at the root level. And this is the part most men never get to because they stop at the surface. They say, I miss her, I love her, I need closure, and they treat that as the full story. It is not. Underneath that, almost always, is a man who did not have a strong enough relationship with himself before she came along. A man who was searching, maybe unconsciously, for someone to make him feel chosen, to make him feel like enough, to make him feel anchored in who he was. And when she looked at him that way, when she made him feel that way, he mistook her reflection of him for his actual self. He did not realize that she was a mirror. not a source. He thought she was generating something. She was only reflecting something that was already there, and then she left, or she changed, or the relationship broke apart. And when the mirror moved, he felt like he disappeared. Like the version of himself he liked most was stored inside her, and now he cannot access it anymore. That is not a relationship problem. That is an identity problem. And no amount of contact, no reconciliation, no closure conversation is going to fix an identity problem. You cannot solve internal emptiness with an external person. It does not work. It has never worked. It will not work. Let's talk about what this costs you, not emotionally in a vague, abstract sense, concretely, because I think you need to see the bill. It costs you presence. When your mind is anchored in the past, in the memories, in the what-ifs, you are absent from the present. The people in front of you right now, they are getting a ghost. They are getting the version of you that is physically in the room, but mentally somewhere else entirely. Your friends notice it. Your family feels it. And the opportunities in your life, they are walking right past a man who is too deep in his own head to see them coming. It costs you momentum. You cannot build anything real when your emotional energy is hemorrhaging into a situation that no longer exists. Think about everything you could direct that same intensity toward, that same level of focus, that same level of emotional investment aimed at a business, a craft, a mission, a version of yourself you have not become yet. Instead, it is draining through a hole that has the shape of a woman who is not calling you back. It costs you self-respect. This is the one that cuts the deepest. Every day that you keep a person at the center of your mental world, when they have not earned that position through consistent presence and action, you are training yourself to believe that you are worth less than the standard you deserve. You are teaching yourself through repeated behavior that absence is acceptable, that silence is okay, that being forgotten is something you can work around. And when you teach yourself that lesson long enough, you start to believe it. You start to show up smaller. In the next conversation, in the next relationship, in every room you walk into, you lose your edge, not because she took it, because you handed it over. Now here is the reframe, and this is the part I need you to actually sit with instead of just hearing. The fact that she is in your head this much is not a sign that you need her back. It is a sign that you need yourself back, fully, unapologetically, without condition. The obsessive mental return is your psyche telling you that something fundamental has been left unattended, that there is a version of you that has been waiting, quietly, patiently, under all the noise of missing her, waiting for you to finally come home to yourself. The intensity you feel around her is not evidence of what you should go back to. It is fuel for who you should become. That is the reframe. The fire does not point toward her. The fire points forward. Now let me describe a man to you. Not a perfect man. Not a man who never got hurt, never got attached, never had moments where someone lived in his head longer than they should have. But a man who learned, a man who came through the exact place you are standing right now and made a different decision about what it meant. This man wakes up in the morning and his first thought is not about her. Not because he has numbed himself, not because he is suppressing it, but because he has filled his own life with things that demand his attention, with a purpose that does not allow for chronic drift. He has a direction. He has something he is building that matters to him more than any narrative about a woman who is not present. He has made himself interesting enough to himself that his own mind is compelling company. He does not check her social media, not out of discipline in the rigid, white-knuckled sense, but because his life is genuinely more interesting than her highlight reel. He made it that way on purpose. He chose to become the kind of man whose present is louder than his past. When he thinks about her, and sometimes he does because he is human, he does not spiral. He acknowledges it. He does not fight it or deny it. He sees it as a signal. He says, okay, something in me is seeking comfort or meaning right now. Where can I find that within myself? And then he goes and finds it. He goes to the work, to the weights, to the craft, to the conversation with someone who actually shows up. He redirects every time. Not perfectly, but consistently. He does not hate her. He does not need to. Hate is just as much of a chain as longing. He simply has clarity about the difference between history and destiny. She is part of his story. She is not the point of his story. And he knows, with a quiet, settled certainty, that no woman who respects herself will ever be attracted to a man who has lost himself in her absence. The man worth having is the man who is whole before she arrives, whole during, and whole after, regardless of what happens. He has boundaries, not walls, boundaries. The difference matters. Walls are built from fear. Keep everyone out, feel nothing. Boundaries are built from self-knowledge. I know my worth, I know my time, I know what I will and will not accept, and I hold that line not to punish others, but to honor myself. When a woman goes quiet on this man, he does not chase. He does not manufacture reasons to reach out. He does not perform indifference either, because that is still performing for her. He simply lives. He moves. He keeps going. And the silence from her side does not shake him because his foundation is not built on her response. That man is not unreachable. He is not some mythological figure. He is you on the other side of this. So here is what you do now, concretely, practically, starting today. You stop checking. You stop going to her profile. You stop reading old messages. You stop looking for breadcrumbs in her activity. Every time you check, you reset the clock on your healing to zero. Every single time. That is not a theory, that is neurological fact. You are re-exposing yourself to the stimulus and wondering why the response does not get weaker. Stop feeding it. Cold. Completely. You redirect the energy. The second her face comes into your mind, you move. Physically, if possible. You stand up, you change location, you do something with your body. You are not running from the thought. You are refusing to give it a throne. You are choosing to be the driver instead of the passenger in your own cognition. Do this consistently and watch how quickly the frequency of those intrusive thoughts begins to drop. You are not suppressing. You are redirecting. That is an entirely different mechanism. You fill the space with something that requires your full attention. Not distraction, development, not Netflix, building, not scrolling, creating. The goal is not to get so busy you cannot feel anything. The goal is to become so genuinely invested in your own growth that the pull of the past has less and less gravitational force. You are not escaping her. You are gravitating toward yourself. There is a massive difference. You stop making her the protagonist of your internal narrative. Every time you find yourself writing the story in your head, imagining what she is doing, what she is thinking, what she would say if she saw you now, stop. Redirect. You do not know what she is thinking. You do not need to know. Her inner world is not your responsibility or your business anymore. Your inner world is. Write that story instead. What does the man you want to become think? What does he do on a Thursday morning? What does he build? What does he care about? Write that story obsessively until it replaces the one that is costing you your potential. You invest in connections that are reciprocal. One of the reasons you are pouring so much mental energy into someone who is not present is because you have starved yourself of genuine connection. Go find people who actually show up. Invest in those relationships. Deepen the ones that have always been there but have been neglected because you were so focused on the one that left. Humans are not meant to be islands, and trying to go it completely alone is its own trap. Build a world that does not depend on any single person and watch how much lighter you feel. You do the actual work, therapy, journaling, coaching, mentorship, whatever form it takes for you, but do the work of understanding why you attach so deeply and so completely to someone else's presence. Not to pathologize yourself, not to diagnose yourself into paralysis, but to understand the pattern so that you do not repeat it in the next chapter. Because if you do not do this work, you will find the next woman and you will make the same transfer. You will hand her your center again. And when she wobbles, you will be right back here. You have to break the pattern at the root, not just survive the current episode. Here is where we land. Here is the truth that I need you to carry out of this video and into whatever comes next. She does not stay on your mind because she is the answer. She stays on your mind because you have forgotten that you are. You are the answer. The person you have been searching for in her reflection. The version of yourself that felt chosen, that felt alive, that felt purposeful and grounded and real. That person exists. He has always existed. He was never inside her. He was always inside you, waiting for you to stop looking outward long enough to find him. The love you are capable of giving, the loyalty, the depth, the intensity, it is not wrong. It is not too much. It is extraordinary. But it has to begin with you. It has to be rooted in you before it can be given to anyone else in a way that does not destroy you when they leave. Because people leave, people change, relationships end, and the only constant, the only foundation that can never be taken away is the relationship you have with yourself. You are not broken because she is in your head. You are broken open, and there is a difference. Broken is the end. Broken open is the beginning. The beginning of building something inside yourself that does not require anyone's permission or presence to stand firm. This is not about becoming cold. It is not about becoming someone who does not feel. It is about becoming someone who feels deeply and still does not lose themselves. Someone who loves fully and still knows where he ends and someone else begins. That is the work. That is the goal. And it starts. It starts right now with the decision you make about what this moment means. If this reached you, if something in this cut through and named something you have been carrying, subscribe to this channel because we are not done. There is more clarity where this came from, more hard truths dressed in the language that actually helps you move. More conversations about identity, self-respect, standards, purpose, the things that nobody around you is going to say out loud, but that you need to hear if you are going to become who you are capable of becoming. Hit subscribe and come back the next time your mind starts to drift. Come back the next time you almost reach for the phone. Come back the next time you need reminding of who you actually are. And know this, the fact that you are here, that you made it through this entire video, that you sat with these truths instead of clicking away, that already tells me something about you. That tells me you are not the kind of man who stays down. You are the kind of man who looks for the answer even when finding it is uncomfortable. That is rare. That is the foundation everything else is built on. You are not alone in this. This community is full of men doing exactly what you are trying to do right now. Rebuilding, reclaiming, choosing themselves without apology. You belong here. Now go do the work. Go become the man that the best version of your future self would recognize and respect. Go make your own mind the most interesting place to be. She is not the story. You are. Total approximate word count. Tier 3050 words.